Technical difficulties. I don't think I ran out of storage since the first module. Okay, so where it was cut off just a couple moments ago was I was showing you that it's not that you're going to use keywords in one part, you're not going to use long parts in the second, and then A1 or 2. I'm just showing you different ways that you can do it. Notice that I have very few keywords. That means I need to practice enough that I could deliver fluently. When I keep scrolling down, I'm giving you another example. So you could see that it's really easy on the eyes. It follows the same structure each time. And just to show you about fitting it on one page, this is actually 5 main points. And what I did in between, the little part of OCD in me, even though this is in size 12 font, the spacing is in size 11, so it's still easy on the eyes. So again, when you start with a narrowed specific goal, when you know what you want to do, when you have a very well-formed thesis, which was about the paleo nutrition is based on primitive times, and today I'll tell you about in paleo lifestyle, we don't eat dairy, grains, processed food, or legumes, which are beans, but we do eat nutrient dense. So what that means is every single part of my body follows from that very clear thesis. Again, you're going to see another page on attention getters, but I do that part actually after I write the body. Of course, I deliver it in the intro, but I write it after. And then we'll talk about the conclusion too. Again, I give another example on Outward Bound. That is a wilderness school I went on, I think when I was about 26. I just turned 47. I'd actually skipped my master's ceremony to go on it. And I thought what was going to happen was I was going to develop even more of my strengths. But what I found was all of my weaknesses, most I didn't even know about at the time. So again, I have very limited words on here. 3 parts to the intro: the attention getter, why I picked the topic, and then researched history. My thesis is very concise, so it's very short wording. And then this parallel structure I did a little bit differently, just with an action verb. So that is the Outward Bound stresses self-reliance each and every time. In terms of a reference sheet, again, it could be an APA or MLA style. And you could check in Blackboard, you could check in the library for that. This I actually took from another speech. So things to know about a reference sheet is that it's in alphabetical order. The second line, or if you have 3 or 4 lines, is all indented. So it goes the opposite way of a paragraph. The websites have a retrieve date. And if you want to use those sites, that easybib.com, they don't always do it correctly. I always say it's like GPS. It mostly gets where you want to go, and then you need to fix it after. So this should all be in the same font. When I keep scrolling down, I decided to include a part on attention getters. So this is actually how you begin the speech. I give you 8 different examples from it. Again, you would want to know it really well so you can deliver it conversationally. I'm going to not read every single one, but you all have your own list of pet peeves. Or homelessness is rampant right here on Long Island. The term bug chasing has been designated for people who actually try to catch the AIDS virus. I remember when I was in my PhD program, my professor actually gave pretty much that statement and then sent us on a break in my health communication class. It was probably the quickest break we ever had. And you can see as I go down for this, if you're doing it live in Zoom and you want to question the audience, what would you do with $1 million? You can actually ask for a response, or if it's rhetorical. And again, you'll read through these. So the reason why it's a good idea to do the body first is you can really see the shape of the speech and then go back and try on different attention getters. I'm going to do another video on the academic journal. I also have this up in Blackboard, but these are the directions for it. And in terms of how it's graded, I know you can't see on my camera right now that it's all 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll try to shift it just a little bit and then put it back. So I think you should have, when you practice, someone do this for you, explain to them all the different points on here. So as we go through it, I call it the Beyonce sheet. This is a rubric. You know how Beyonce had the song to the left, to the left? We want you to go to the right, because that's where all the 5s are. So it is 75% for the presentation. It is 25% for the outline. What we're looking for is a strong attention getter delivered well, significance of the topic, why you picked it, and the clear thesis. We should almost hear the commas in your voice. The intro overall, including research that we hear and nonverbals. And again, feel free if you want to sit at your kitchen table. You actually don't have to stand on this one. I figure it might be hard for some people if they don't have a printer, if they're looking at their screen, to be far away. But just make sure you don't have anything distracting like scratching or twisting in a chair or running your fingers through your hair. So you want to practice for those things. The body, which is 2 to 5 well-organized balance points stated in that parallel structure, that we heard 3 sources cited clearly along with the visual aid. The visual aid can come anywhere before the conclusion. You found a way to relate to the audience. So again, as long as you're talking to us, you do not lose points if you're not creative, but you certainly gain if you are. You clearly increased our knowledge of the topic, that the research is evident. Strong eye contact, whether that means Zoom eye contact or video. Vocal variety and enthusiasm and few distracting fillers, that comes with practice. So the vocal variety, the opposite of that is when we're monotone. But typically when we're extemporaneous from those limited notes, our voices just automatically go in those high and low tones. Enthusiasm, of course, we're going to be interested in your speech when you are. And the ums and the likes and the whatnots, you might have them here and there, but as long as they're not distracting throughout, you'll be fine. And again, that comes with practice. Conversational flow and that conversational rate. Here's a great one from a few chapters ago. And again, it's a good idea to go back through chapters 11, 12, 13, and 14, which was all about public speaking. That's why I wanted to do it early, so you had some time for it to marinate. If you're not confident, you can fake it. A lot of times we'll never know the difference. That it sounds prepared. We'll go back through my outline on the conclusions, but we're looking that you recap the thesis and the clincher goes back to the attention getter. It should sound definite, so you know that you're ending. You're not bringing up new points. You sound sure of yourself. And then genuine means you're not rushing through the ends and you don't start reading it all of a sudden. In terms of posture, since we are in a pandemic semester, if you do want to sit, it's fine. In terms of attire, we'll talk about Zoom dressed or video dressed for speech. So whatever's on camera should look professional. So you see my notes on that checklist about the no hoodies, hats, inappropriate wear. Overall effectiveness, and then the time limit of 4 to 6 minutes. If you are doing Zoom for the visual aid too, there's a little bit of a delay, so you get a grace period on that. And then for the outline, the specific goal is narrowed down. The thesis statement is well worded. It's in the correct format, parallel structure. It's a 1-page outline. The word structure is correct. The indents are there. The spacing, the font, the aesthetics, which means how it looks on the eye. So you don't want to just shove everything onto one page, but it doesn't look good. And then that reference sheet in APA or MLA style. The checklist for the outline. So again, the 5 headings are correct. The specific goal, intro, thesis, body, conclusion. The intro has the 3 correct parts of attention getter, statement of significance, and the researched history. The thesis previews each main point in order concisely. The main points are in parallel wording structure, so that's the same pattern of wording. The main points are in complete declarative statements, not questions. So if you're taking, something off a website, which is fine, you always give credit for it, change that question and make it a statement. Subpoints, you have at least 2 supporting the main point, so those are the A's and B's. If you go into 1s and 2s, they always need to be in at least a pair. They're short and they're in fragments. Again, I'll show you my conclusions, but they repeat the thesis in the first part, and in the second part, the clincher goes back to the attention getter. It's limited to 1 page. It's easy on the eyes of font, spacing, indent, and aesthetics. You have 3 sources, including the academic journal. It's highlighted on the outline, so you remember to say during the speech, and the visual aid is labeled. It comes anywhere before the conclusion. My suggestion is before you upload this in Blackboard, you want to make sure that you have all the checks, just like you have in math to make sure that you got the problem right. While this is not a problem, this is a rock star moment, but these are all the things that we're looking for. And again, in terms of that reference sheet, this whole thing together is worth it 20%. APA or MLA style, you review the eval criteria, practice out loud, and dress as if, like we said on the last one, that you're going out to dinner with your grandparents, but yeah, Zoom dressed for it. So I crossed out all the things that we don't want. Yeah, you could thank the pandemic. We don't have much to be grateful for during a pandemic. Life, which is things to be grateful for, but in terms of school, if you want it to be face-to-face, but something to be thankful for, you can wear PJ bottoms. If we don't see it, we'll never know. If you want feedback on your outline with 24 hours notice, I'm happy to Zoom with you. So going back now as we wrap this up, you know the 3 parts to the intro. So if I was talking something about, in a different speech about my paleo, but I couldn't name as many presidential candidates, I tell you why. I jump down to my conclusion, I recap the thesis, and my clincher goes back to the attention getter. This one, which is on paleo, so if my visual aid was putting up a picture of myself where I was 30 pounds heavier, you saw that in the dialectical tensions with one of the authors from it. I go into my whole intro of why I picked it, and I give it academic journal research. Then in the conclusion, I recap the thesis, and then my clincher going back to the attention getter. So in case you're wondering, one of the best and worst parts about losing all that weight is that I had to get my clothes tailored because I went on shopping sprees because nothing fit anymore. And then it follows the same formula. And this is true to this day, a couple decades later. If my attention getter is in my wildest dreams, never did I think buying toilet paper at CVS would one day feel like a luxury. And oh, the irony that we're talking about this during pandemic time. Never thought that was when it was going to happen. But then again, I go into why I picked the topic. I talk about my research history. I go through my whole speech. My conclusion, I recap the thesis again. And this one's a little gross, but yeah, do you think you're ready to poop in the woods for 22 days? All right, so this covers pretty much everything you need to know. Again, feel free to put up questions on Blackboard for anything you're wondering. Anything you're wondering, I'm sure other students are too, and it will help you out. And I'll also have another video up on the academic journal. Have a fantastic week, and remember to sign up for your topic. Make sure that you're checking out the feedback that I give. My favorite word is yes, and you'll sign up for a slot. Have a great day.